I'm going to hand it to you if you want to talk about the procedures. And then if anyone has specific questions, you can either put them in the chat box, or if you want to raise your hand and ask them, that's fine too. I just ask that everyone stay muted if they're not talking. That way we don't have any kind of interruptions.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. So as Lauren was saying, yes, I laugh at it because it's unintentional experience. I have taken probably at least 30 attempts at NCRA online tests, and that's because of multiple attempts and multiple legs over various certifications. So I currently hold my RDR certification. I am working on my CRR. I'm that flingin' flangin' test. I'm gonna get it. I've taken it. Look, full disclosure, I'm just gonna be honest with all of you. I feel this is a safe space. I've taken the CRR 8 times now. Have not passed it yet, but I'm bound and determined to pass it. But that being said, I consider myself, as much as can be, an expert in online testing because I've done it so many darn times. Now, that has been through the NCRA system, but the benefit is they use the same systems that the California CRB is bringing in, because they are using ProctorU, which is the proctoring service, and Real-Time Coach, which is the testing platform. So instead of me blabbing on about all the things I know and I think, I will go ahead and open it up to the floor to answer your questions. And as we get your questions coming up and I see what your concerns are, then I'll have a better understanding of what I can talk about to make this time more beneficial for all of you. And like Lauren said, just a little bit of a disclaimer again, so it's clear. I have no information from the CRB in terms of answers. So I would say, if you're looking for an official answer, the final and ultimate word is the CRB themselves. I will do my best to get you as close to the real answer as I can. There will be times tonight where I may have to say, I really don't know. You'll have to ask them, or we will be happy to help you in finding that answer through Lauren and our Save Our Student Committee or the rest of the board. We will be happy to get that information out to you in a timely manner so that you are prepared and ready to pass the CSR exam. So with that, let's get the party started. Let's see if there are any questions.
I have a question.
And if you all came with no questions, then go home, because this will be the most boring night. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, go ahead.
I think Sydney Ray, was that you?
Oh yeah, I wasn't sure if you guys can hear me.
Yeah.
Oh, you know,
okay.
Sydney Ray, I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt real quick. I probably should explain this to everyone as well. Since you're on the Zoom platform, the way to make this most efficient for Lauren and myself, if we use the raise hand functionality, that will allow us to see who has a question, and then we can call on you and keep everything running in a bit of order. So if you're on your computer, if you look at the bottom of the screen, you should see a button that says Participants. Click that button. It brings up the list of all the people who are in the room. And in the bottom right hand of the participants window, you see raise hand. When you click that button, that raises your hand to alert Lauren, the host, that you wish to speak, or you have a question, something along those lines. Lauren can then call on you, so that way you can begin to speak. We'll unmute your microphone, so on and so forth. For those of you that are on mobile devices or iPads, whether it's iPhone or Android, you should have some sort of option to access more options. It's either an ellipsis or what's called the hamburger, which is those 3 lines stacked one on top of the other. When you tap that, you'll see the option to, there are several options included in that list. One of them is to raise hand. It is the same functionality. It'll alert Lauren that you have a question that you want to bring up, and then she'll call on you and we can keep that orderly. So Sydney, now that I've blabbed on about that, let's go ahead back to you.
You helped me find the right hand, so that was cool. I didn't know where it was at first. But I do have a question. Do you guys have information about the practice exam? And if you do you guys know if or when we'll have access to take that practice exam with the proctor?
So I know little about it. I
Okay.
can give you an educated guess. This would be a great example of one of those things that the CRB might have better information for you. What I do know is that a practice test is available. You will schedule a practice test session through ProctorU, and you actually go through the process of connecting with a proctor. They run through your equipment to make sure that your internet connection is stable, your webcam works, your audio works, you have enough bandwidth to handle watching the video and uploading the files. And then there is even a short practice exam. It's not the full dictation. It's, if I recall, it's only a couple minutes, but it just gives you the gist of going through a tiny version of the test and then going through the steps of uploading your files into Real-Time Coach. And if it's the same as what I've done, the practice session will let you submit your practice test. It'll say, get your estimated score. You put that through and then it's done, it's over. So don't think that your practice test score means anything. It really doesn't. It's just a simulation for you to have a dress rehearsal to go through those steps. So I would assume that if you've registered and paid and gotten your information to schedule the actual exam, that you are then able to schedule your practice exam with ProctorU through the Real-Time Coach Testing Center portal.
Got it. Okay. So
And
that's something.
On
go
the
ahead, Lauren.
on the CRB website, it also says that you need to schedule that 72 hours in advance of when you want your session or actual exam. So you need to make sure that if you want to do it before you take the test, then you need to give them 72 hours for that.
Right. And 72 hours is the bare minimum. In fact, something that everyone should be aware of is that even services like ProctorU are affected by the current pandemic because more schools and more learning resources are utilizing remote proctoring systems. So it means the demand is higher and it may take longer for a proctor to connect to you, or the time slots available in a day may fill up faster. So if you go 72 hours before a desired date, the date, a particular time on that date may not be available, or the date itself may not be available. So I would encourage you to schedule as far in advance as possible for both any practice exams you have and your actual exam.
Thanks,
and then Sure. And then Lauren, I'll leave it up to control for you as far as how you want to integrate in the chat questions as well, because it looks like people are using the chat box function.
Yeah.
Just to let everyone else know, it would be preferred that you use the raise hand feature and audibly ask your question, especially so that those who are watching the recording can hear it all in one place, because when this saves, the chat file is another text. The text is in another file that goes in another location, and people may not have access to that. But if you happen to chat, we'll be happy to answer those questions too. I would just prefer you ask us verbally, because it's nice to hear from you anyway.
So let's go. I see Alyssa's question in the chat, but Brianna has her hand up, so she doesn't forget hers. So let's do Brianna, and then we can answer Alyssa's question.
Great.
So go ahead, Brianna.
So I was just wondering, since you've done the online testing, and when you upload, you copy and paste, it gives you an estimated or simulated grading. Is that based on every single punctuation? Like I've seen on the CRB website, the formatting is like Q, period, and the question. And normally when we do the test, they don't mark off if we don't have a period after the Q. Do you know what I'm saying, format-wise?
Right, I understand what you're saying. So the estimated score is really something that you shouldn't put a lot of value in. Yes, it gives you an idea how close you are, but many, many times, and with many, many other people, I have seen instances where your estimated score is different from your final score. In fact, many people have gotten their licenses because of a bump. I myself, when I first took the RPR online, my estimated score was a 94%. And then 3 days later, I got the email that said I passed because they had reviewed it and my score actually went up. So when you get the estimated score, it's just a quick snapshot based on what the computer has graded. And the computer will grade it in a quick compared against the text master fashion. So whatever the literal transcript is that has been uploaded into the system, the computer is going to compare your test to that transcript, and it's going to say you got an 80% compared to this. I mean, that's horrible, but I'm kidding. But that's just the initial read through. Because of the way that we grade the test, or the CRB grades the test, I should say, they understand that there are certain gray areas or certain issues that need to be viewed by a human to make a judgment call. So after your test is submitted, there will be eyes on it. And there will be someone who is actually taking a look at the test to grade it to make sure that the computer didn't do something funny, like take a point off because you used a Q&A, or excuse me, a speaker format that wasn't on the text document, but is allowed according to the CRB. I hope that answered your question, and I'm really fighting the tendency to ask, does that make sense, or does that answer your question? Because that's my pet peeve. When people ask that, it means that they know they're not doing a good job, and I'm really doing my best here. So, so please feel free to ask for further clarification if you need it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, and then let's go to Alyssa's question. Can you explain the uploading test file process, and if you have had any issues in doing so during test time, do you use Case Catalyst? I have heard uploading test files sometimes adjust spacing and formatting, and I am worried it'll create issues and overall test errors.
So I use Case Catalyst, and as far as issues, I have not experienced any because the system is pretty clear on what it expects from you. And there are several different ways that you upload your information into the real-time coach process. Now, this is the way that I've experienced it through NCRA. I imagine it's very similar through CRB. There could be a difference. So if there is, I don't want you to be afraid or upset if they come back and say something different than what I've said. Quick pause here, and I'll get back to that question. That's one thing that I really want to impress upon all of you is that I know going through school, you get used to the testing process, and it's very sterile and it's very controlled. In fact, you know, years and years and months and days and weeks, it's been the speakers in a certain order and everything's been very regimented. But guess what? We are in unprecedented times. That's one of those cliche phrases you're going to hear everyone saying often, because we are. And you have to be ready for anything, whether it's changing from on-site to online, whether it's changing the order of speakers, whether it's Mike said that you're going to upload your text first and then CRB says, no, you upload your file first, whatever the case may be. It's important to understand all the steps of the process, but then also be flexible enough to adjust if there's a bump in the road. You can't let those bumps throw you off, because they're going to happen. I mean, our industry as a whole, as court reporters, has had to pivot, and we've had to do everything that we normally do in person online in order to keep things going forward. And that's the only way we've been able to survive. So you all are actually coming in at a great time with this opportunity, because you get to take something that's completely different. You get to be the first ones to do it. And I think it's going to be fun to do that. Now, back to the uploading process. When you finish the test, the first thing it's going to ask you to do is to upload your notes file. So whether you are on Case Catalyst, Eclipse, DigiCat, Stone Tablet, whatever the case may be, you need to know how to access your Steno notes file. And so make sure you have that knowledge beforehand. And it's as simple as clicking the button on a real-time coach that says upload. It pops up the Windows browser like you're used to when you send files through email or when you're uploading to something in the cloud like Dropbox. And you upload that file from wherever its location may be, in Eclipse, CaseCat, whatever. Then the system goes on to the next step and it will ask you to upload your transcript. So you're uploading your steno notes, you're uploading your transcript, and then the last step is when it will ask you to copy and paste the text from your transcript into Real-Time Coach so it can do that estimated grade. And again, there are people that will have eyes on this. So don't be too concerned with, oh no, when I copied and pasted the text from my transcript, it looked funny on Real-Time Coach. Again, that estimated score, it's an estimate. It's not official. So upload it, see what it says, and then let it go. Don't kill yourself and say, oh no, my estimated score was a 92. I need to go crawl into a hole and die and eat all the ice cream now. Just know that, okay, I got a 92. That's what it said. I'm still going to wait for my official result. So I have not experienced any problems with that, but you know, the way the world works, there's always potential for something. The great thing about this process is you have a proctor with you, and the proctor is constantly monitoring what's going on. If while you're uploading your test, there's an issue, you can type into a chat box and tell your proctor, hey, I'm having a problem. The proctors have limited ability in what they can do, but their primary role is essentially a tech support role. So they are there to assist. And if the problem gets to a point where it's unfixable, they will help file a report so that that problem can be assessed and addressed in terms of whether you need to do a retest or whether you're not eligible for a retest or if you're eligible for a refund, whatever the case may be. You have guidance there. Someone is watching and helping you with it. So don't worry about the overall test error issue there. Like we said, I'll say it again. Wow, how many times can I say that cliche? There are going to be human eyes on the test. The initial pass is just that. It's an initial pass by the computer to narrow in more closely where your potential score range is.
Mike, are we sure that they're giving that option?
What option?
The preliminary score before the official score?
I'm not entirely sure, but I imagine if they're using the real-time system, it's going to go through the same steps. So there you go. That's one of those areas where it's a gray area. I'm not sure if they'll show you. So we shall see. But I know that in the past through NCRA's system, it does give you that estimated score.
And I'm just so everyone knows, I'm taking a list of questions that I'm going to also follow up and send to Kim Kell on the CRB. So hopefully we can get you guys some more answers to them. Were you done with that answer, Mike?
Yep.
So Michaela is next.
Hey, quick question. Do you recommend using 2 devices for the CSR, or do you do it all on 1 device?
And when you say device, are you referring to the computer that hosts the video? You are only allowed to connect to a single device. In fact, the proctor will run a quick scan to see if you are outputting to something else, such as a second monitor or a second computer. They do that to prevent cheating. So you can only use 1 computer. Everything needs to be on that 1 single device.
Perfect, thank you.
Sure. Oh, well, I guess I should add to that just a little bit. So make sure you're familiar with how to do things on your computer, like switch between screens or like windows. So if you have your CAT software maximized, make sure you know how to quickly switch over to your internet browser so that you can see that. And then also you're going to see a little text box where you can chat with the proctor. You can resize that to make it bigger, and then it gives you the option to increase the text. It doesn't go as big as maybe you would really like, but it does allow you to increase the size so it's a bit bigger than normal to help with readability. So just make sure you're proficient in being able to switch between applications on your 1 device.
And then we have Krista Matthews.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I was looking on the website and it sounded like we have to have a webcam that's separate from our computer. I only have 1 USB plug on my computer, and I would obviously need that to connect my machine to my computer. So what do I do?
That is a very good question. I'm glad you said that, first of all, because yes, you do need a webcam that is separate, because as part of the process, the proctor will ask you to pan the camera around the room. They ask you to show all 4 walls, your desk, underneath the desk, and then your computer that you are working from. So if you have a device that only has one USB port, the workaround would be to look into getting a USB port extender dongle. I've gotten a few of these from like conventions. In fact, this one's from NCRA. This plugs into one USB port and it gives you 4. You can get something like that relatively cheap off of Amazon or Best Buy. And in fact, after this, Lauren, if you could make a note, I'll look up and see if there are 1 or 2 that we can recommend,
Okay.
so that you can be able to plug multiple devices in.
I just ordered one at the beginning of quarantine because I've been needing a lot more ports now that we're working from home. And I got one for, I think it was maybe $15, $20. So there's definitely affordable ones that work well. So it's not a crazy expense.
Okay.
Yeah, especially if you don't need a lot of firepower, you know, because you have your writer and your webcam that are going to plug into it, that's going to be fine. But in fact, see, I have my nifty little detachable webcam. You know, I've got something crazy like this, which is my docking station over here that has like 8 USB ports into it because I'm crazy like that. And see, this is my whole setup. I have my laptop and my workstation, but that's the importance of having that webcam being able to be detachable so you can show stuff like that, because if you can't, then they are going to assume that you're cheating and they will kick you out of the test.
And it also says here that they want you to be able to position it so that it shows you from the side with your writer, or maybe not from the side. Yeah. It has to be able to be positioned to the side of you so they can see you actually writing the test on your machine.
Yes, and
so when you're setting up, just keep that in mind also.
So there are 2 things I want to say in relation to that as well. One is what used to be recommended was a gooseneck webcam, and that was when I took the CSR, which 5 years ago, I mean, it feels ancient now, but when online testing was first coming out, that was the best option. But now gooseneck webcams are almost obsolete because it was the webcam on an arm that you could like bend and tilt and move wherever it needed to move. And that's why it was recommended, because they figured you could adjust the angle however you need. With the webcams now, they're robust enough and they have their own little stands, or some even come with a tripod, and that'll do the trick as well. Just make sure you get a webcam with a long enough cord so that you can back it away from yourself, because as you can see from my camera here, if you were to try and see me writing with the writer, it wouldn't be possible. But let's play around a bit. Fortunately, this one has a rather long cord. This one was also, this webcam I got for like $50 off Amazon. You know, my webcam can extend out about this far from my workstation. So from here, you can see everywhere I sit, the area below, and that'll be perfectly acceptable for the test proctor reviewing what your setup is.
Okay, and then next we have Corinne.
Hi. You were saying the one device, and I noticed that you have your monitor hooked up to your laptop as well. Is that okay? Because my bigger screen is kind of how I do the split screen, or do we have to cut that off?
Unfortunately, you have to cut it off. They used to allow it, and in recent iterations of the test, ProctorU now does not allow dual monitors. I do the same thing you do, like you saw. I love dual screen. I was a little bummed when they came to me and said, nope, you can't do dual screen anymore. But all I did was just cut it out, move it over to my laptop, and I was good to go. So yes, it has to be one device, one screen, all on one place.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We don't have any raised hands. Does anyone have questions and you're being shy or anything you want us to go over. The other thing I'll say to, oh, Carissa, go ahead.
Hi guys. I wanted to, if I could, when I took the RPR last year, a couple things like what Mike's talking about, I use dual monitors too because I use a like a Microsoft Pro, which has a fairly small screen. And it's great because it's really portable, but I had to actually like cover my screens and the proctor had to view that. So like when they did the sweep around of the room, like I had to put, there were certain things he wanted put away. And then I had to make sure my screens were actually covered. So like, I think I had like a sweater or something nearby. And so just be prepared for that stuff because it just depends on your proctor. I had one proctor who was like, didn't care. And then the other proctor on the other test was like, oh no, and that has to go, and that has to go, and that has to go. So it's kind of a, like, I guess like a mixed bag, if you want to say it like that, but yeah.
That's a good point that you bring up here. These proctors are working through a proctoring service. They are all different people. And the only thing that they have to operate with is a document in front of them that has a script and things to look for. So you might laugh to yourself when they're reading their document and they say, please pull up your CAT software. And we all know it's CAT software. That's what we call it. That's our word. They don't. And they just see it and they go, okay, CAT software. So yes, this person is the official who's proctoring you, but they may not be familiar, as you know, with all of the intricacies of our industry. So don't be caught off guard if they don't use the right word or mispronounce something, is the point I'm trying to make. They are your babysitter, and that's the end of their job. They are not like your teachers who have gone through the trenches like you have and know all the ins and outs of it. So you are the pro in the room. I mean, obviously you're there to prove that you're competent by taking the test. So remember that you know this better than anyone in that digital room.
And then we have Brianna has a question.
So I don't know if you can answer this, but I just wanted to know if you had any advice as far as internet, because I've called my internet provider like twice because I've just been dropped completely. And they're like, oh yeah, we fix it, it's AT&T. And then it happens like 2 more times that night. So did you have problems with that leading into your test online? And how did you, like, is there any advice you can give as far as maybe getting a new modem? Like that's where my mind's at right now.
I'm the super techie person, so yes, I love this kind of stuff. So please stop me if I get into a realm of technology that is unclear, because I have a tendency to do that when I get on a rampage. God bless, AT&T is not reliable. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna go out and say it. I've had experience with them. As hard as they try and as much as they advertise, AT&T is not something that's gonna be the best for you. So that being said, I would look into whatever you can get access to that would be as robust as possible. So if AT&T is your home internet provider, it may be a stretch to go try and switch providers right now. We're not going to do that. Instead, I'm gonna ask, are you operating on Wi-Fi or are you hardline connecting your internet? Wi-Fi. So what I would look into is being able to connect for the day of your test through the Ethernet cable. And most routers these days, even though they are primarily Wi-Fi, they do have Ethernet ports or networking ports on the back of the router that you can hardwire connect into. You might have to get an Ethernet cable. You might also need to get a USB to Ethernet jack adapter for your computer if your computer doesn't have an Ethernet jack. But those adapters are available in the world. I have one myself that I carry on the job. It's somewhere around here on my desk, but they're not very expensive. and it turns your simple That's really the cool thing about USB, and that's why the industry pushed towards it, is because USB is universal serial bus, and it can really become a lot of things with the right kind of adapter or dongle. It can become an Ethernet jack, a display jack, an audio jack, whatever it needs to be, if you just go on Amazon and buy the right cord. So look into being able to hardwire connect into your router, because a hardwire Ethernet connection will give you the most reliable connection that is possible through your provider, because you're no longer going through the air, you're going through all of the cables and connections that are available to you. If you have it available through your, well, I should watch this advice. Okay, I'm gonna pause. I was about to recommend a mobile hotspot, but they don't allow you to have a phone in the room. So let me think about a creative backup that you might have. And if we come up with a solution for that, we'll include that in what we're distributing after the fact with the additional questions that we might have to answer. Because that is a little bit of it requires creativity. But yes, that would be my recommendation, is get as close as you can to a hardwire connection. And then secondly, you want to do whatever you can to free up bandwidth on your internet. So you might have to make some negotiations with the people in your household. You might have to tell everyone, don't get on the internet. You're not going to watch videos. You're not going to play games. You're not going to make a phone call. You may have to go like to the old days. Some of you kids may remember when we were on America Online and someone picked up the phone and it ruined you downloading a picture, for crying out loud. Yeah, you want to look at all the things that might be going on your internet that would take up bandwidth. Things like cloud services in the background, or I'm going through my computer to see what else might be accessing it. If you have like an email program on your computer, close that. Exit out everything that's going to connect to the internet, so that the only thing going to the internet is you, the proctor, and your testing video.
A couple things I wanted to add. The USB extender that I just got has 3 USB ports and an Ethernet cable jack. So I have one that I can recommend. There's tons of them, so I don't think you guys are going to have a problem with that. And I plug into Ethernet all the time for that exact reason. During Zoom depots, I have a captioning job that I do, and it's just more reliable when you're doing remote stuff like this. So I would do it, just even if I would just do it to be safe anyway. And then also, one of the teachers just told me schools are able to host students and they're likely to have stronger internet connection. So you might want to talk to either your school, or if you're not in a school anymore, maybe reach out to the closest school to you and see if they can help set something up for you.
So much.
And then Jade was next.
Hi. Yeah, I just have a question. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment with my boyfriend, and we don't have a lot of room. So I don't have like a desk in my room or an office. I usually just set up at like my kitchen table and put my laptop on there. Is that okay for the test? Or do my parents do live nearby and they have an office at their house that I can always go to, but they have dogs and stuff and I just don't want to be distracted. And I'm just wondering, would that be an issue setting up in the kitchen, or does it need to be like an office space?
Wherever you set up needs to be a secure location. So you can set up in your kitchen, but you essentially need to lock down your entire apartment and tell people that you live with, no one comes in between the hours of 1 p.m. and 4 p.m., because if someone enters the room while you're testing, that's a breach of security and it's an automatic fail for the test.
Okay.
I've done it in a bedroom. I've done it in a kitchen. I've done it in an office. It just has to be a secured room. Also, it would be helpful to make sure that the room you're in doesn't have visible doors if possible. And I mean doors aside from like entryway doors. For example, if you have a room with like closets in it, Some of the proctors get a little weird about that. Or let me be a little more specific. Say you're in a big bedroom and it has like your walk-in closet, the door to another bedroom, and then the door to the bathroom, whatever. They just get a little leery when they see other doors. So the way to work around that is make sure all those doors are closed, clearly shut. You know, it's easy to see from someone looking on a camera that that door is closed and no one's getting in. And I would even go so far as to say, if you have some sort of like crepe paper or caution tape, whatever, something that literally shows, hey, this is a barrier, no one's getting through this door, to kind of prove to the proctors this is a secured location. You don't necessarily have to go that far. I'm just saying that's a workaround in case you're concerned with issues like that. But yeah, your kitchen, bedroom, whatever should be just fine.
Thank you.
And while I'm also thinking of it, plan for excess time in your test. So let's say you are testing at 1 o'clock and you get, 2.5 hours to transcribe. You know, it's a 15-ish minute test. So that's 2 hours and 45 minutes. And you may think, oh, you know, I'll give myself a little buffer of 3 hours. Plan for 4, plan for 4.5. Because, like I said earlier, there's a big demand on the proctors. So ProctorU is advertising that it could take 30 minutes or more to connect to a proctor when you log in. It's happened to me several times, and it can be frustrating, but there's nothing to do but just sit and wait and breathe, because that's the only option, is to wait for a proctor to come to you during your appointed time. I had it happen. So the two worst cases that happened to me, one, I waited 1 hour and 20 minutes and they finally came on and said, we are having technical difficulties. Your test is going to be concluded. You will get an email. And this was through NCRA. They emailed me and said, okay, you'll get a refund for your test. You can take it during the next cycle, which was a bummer, but you know, sometimes it is what it is, and you just have to accept it and learn from it and move on, especially when there's really nothing that you can do or they can do. The other worst experience was when I sat for 45 minutes, no proctor came on, and there was nothing, like it just kept doing the 3 little dots telling me that someone was connecting. And it was the first time it happened, and I was in a slow boil. Like I just sat there getting aggravated and aggravated and aggravated. I was so mad and so angry that no one was here. And what do I do? And I want your manager. Who do I talk to? And when they came on at the 46th minute, I was so flustered and so drained from being angry that there was no hope for me on that test. I chowed it within the first 10 seconds. It's part of the process. So find a coping mechanism for you to be able to just quietly sit, stay centered, stay focused, whatever you need to do to just be a happy little camper and wait. I know it's not ideal. I know it's not perfect, but in all of the scenarios that we have to play in this testing process, this is the best solution. And so with that comes a little give and take. It'll be fine. If there's a difficulty, there's always a way to resolve it. Sometimes that may have to be more time in order to get you to the resolution. What I mean by that is if the test doesn't go well for you and they say, oh, this is the last day of the cycle, we'll give you a refund, but you can't test until the next test. That's a bummer, but hey, you're still alive to test another day. You can come back at it and be 10 times stronger. As long as you look at it with the perspective of a positive view, then there's nothing that can stop you. So things will happen, plan for them, be ready for them, and don't let them get you, because you are better than this process. This process is not impossible. It's not unbeatable. The process is designed to make sure that people who are entering the profession are competent and well prepared and ready for the job. It's not designed to be a barrier or a weed out. So you just take things as they come, let it go, and do the best that you can, and let it be what it is.
Okay, Sydney has her hand up again. Sydney Ray.
I had two questions. My first question is, you mentioned the scanning, how the proctor will scan our computer or something like that. Is that a process that requires, do I need to hold the webcam up to my computer, or how does that work?
So it's actually something that's done behind the scenes. You may not see it. The most that you'll see is in the chat box, a bunch of text comes up and it looks like computer code, and it says stuff like script check, dual monitor, external connection, .sy, a whole bunch of programming codes. And that's just running their stuff to check to see what you're connected to. So they do it. You don't have to do any of that.
Okay. Cool.
The only thing that you will physically have to do is you will have to make sure that you have photo ID available. You'll have to hold it up to the camera, and you might have to play with it a bit to, you know, avoid glare and make sure they can read it. You'll show them your ID, and then you will pick up your camera and pan the room. Like I said, show all four walls, show your desk, show underneath the desk, and then set the camera in a place so that you can be seen writing on your writer.
Okay.
Oh, and a bonus tip. If they do this for you, they've started doing this the last 6 or 7 tests, at least through NCRA. Have a brief for your name, because the proctor may ask you, write your name on your writer to show that you are connected to the software. And if they ask that and you go, oh my God, I don't know how to write my name, and that freaks you out, you're already starting one step behind. So know how to write your name or have a brief for it so it's ready to go.
Good to know. Great, thank you. And then my second question is for everyone. As far as the scheduling the dictation for the CSR, did anyone get emails yet? Because I just heard from forwarded emails from Kim that we'll get information about scheduling the dictation in July. I didn't get anything yet. Has anyone, is that the same for everyone else as well?
I haven't gotten anything.
So
Okay,
if you're
great.
on your computer, at the bottom of your screen, there's a reactions button. And if you click that, you can give a thumbs up. And on mobile devices, I'm not sure if reactions are there as well, but okay. So yeah, I'm seeing several thumbs up coming in. Yep, cool. Thumbs up or across the room. So I think nothing, yeah, and even in chat, I see that as well, nothing yet. So also, one thing you all should be aware of is, remember, this is not only new for you all, this is new for the state of California. This is new for the CRB. So as much anxiety and nerves that you may have going into this of trying to do well, on the other side, there are a whole bunch of people that are super nervous to make sure that this process goes well for you and to make sure that it's designed in such a way that gives you the best advantage to succeed. So remember to give everyone just a little bit of slack, and we're all working to get the information out as quickly as possible. And of course, if you have any questions, reach out and, you know, we'll all get through it together.
Michaela?
Hi, one more. So
nope, you're out. That's it. No more. Thanks. It's been a great night. No, as many questions as you need.
So would you recommend running your software, or should I upload it later after the test?
I'm not sure I understand your question fully. I'm going to try and clarify. Do you mean? Oh, yeah, you can real time it.
Do you recommend that, or do I upload it after I'm done?
Wow, I could probably talk for about 45 minutes to answer that particular aspect of it. I think the best answer is do what works best for you. So if you are comfortable with writing on your writer and then plugging in, seeing it upload, spitting it all out through your software, go for it. If you're someone who has been practicing all along and doing everything directly into your computer, do that. Fortunately, court reporting is not like math. As long as we all get to the same answer, no one cares about the steps in the equation. So it's really dependent upon what you are most comfortable with and what you are most proficient with in terms of whether you do it real time or whether you read the notes into your software.
Clarissa?
So I had a question about that, like a follow-up. If you're, because I usually just write real time into the file because you only have 2 minutes to load. So like if you're just writing on your machine and you're taking up that 2 minutes to connect and upload to your software, that would make me nervous, but that's me. And like I said, I'm used to writing real time into like real time coach and stuff. So that wasn't a challenge, but I think that might be something to think about, or to maybe time it, like do a test run and see how long is it going to take your notes to upload from your writer if you're connecting and not writing real time.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. I would imagine that the people who are used to reading in notes from their writer into the software could probably do it faster than I can tie my shoes. They're like, click, 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 you know, and so it could be perfectly fine. But that is a very valid point. Whatever your process is, set a stopwatch and see how long it takes you so that you know if you're at risk for missing the buzzer. It's been my experience, even taking the real-time exam for NCRA, that the timers they give you are excessive. In my opinion, if it takes you 2 minutes to read in a file and upload that file, we should talk about your computer proficiency, because it's not that involved a process. You read it in, the file comes up, you point your computer to it and upload it. If you were to do that casually, it maybe takes you 60 to 75 seconds. So 2 minutes is even double that, because we're trying to allow everyone the most time possible. I'm not saying you have to be like a NASCAR pro and be like, phew, 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 you know, changing the tires and all that stuff. I mean, if you are, that's really awesome. But the time limits are not set in such a way where you have to accomplish feats of strength and wonder in order to meet them.
And then also I wanted to add, the CRB website does say that if you accidentally click on the incorrect file and upload something that you didn't mean to upload, they'll give you 2 extra minutes. So if you're freaking out and you're nervous, just take your time. But also if you click the wrong file, they're going to give you 2 extra minutes to get the right one.
And you know, the same kind of philosophies that you would use when you were taking the test in person apply to this process. Double check, triple check. Don't go faster than you are capable of going. Take your time, take a breath, look everything over. This is not a contest. You don't have to get through first in order to win, to pass. So take advantage of what is given to you. They give you 2.5 hours to transcribe. Go nuts. If you want to take that 2.5 hours, take it. One benefit to this process, you don't have to worry about printing time. So no one's going to have that issue of, oh no, I didn't get it out of my printer and didn't get it in the folder and turned in time, which is really awesome because that's a big risk. So know yourself, know the amount of time that it takes to complete things, know how to get through this process. And like I said, there is the practice test. Take advantage of that, because going through that practice test is going to get you familiar with this whole process before you go to the big dance. And knowing that you've done it at least once or twice before really helps you with your frame of mind in knowing that you've been through it, you can do it.
I do want to say too, I hope you guys are going on, this is a document that's just available under the testing, under the examinees portion of the Court Reporters Board website. Everything needs to be hardwired, no Bluetooth. So I know a lot of us use Bluetooth now just because it's easier, but they won't let you. There was something else I saw that I wanted to make sure. Oh, and then I just wanted to say, it's just like with the regular CSR, we tell you guys, test everything before you come to the CSR, set up the night before and test everything then, and then go in the morning and make sure everything's still working. Don't order these things that you need and have them get there the day that you're taking the test and then be upset that they're not working. Just be prepared, you know. You still have a couple weeks to get everything together. Just make sure that it's just less stressful for you that way. So Amazon, I think, is back to normal shipping. If you need to order stuff, I would do it sooner than later so you can test it and know and just have peace of mind that, you know, it's going to work for you and you don't have to stress about it the day of.
If you're ordering from Amazon, make sure that you're ordering from suppliers that are allowed to ship products into the United States. A lot of the cheap, acceptable products may come from out of the country and you won't see it for weeks.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that when you're shopping.
For sure. Sydney? Sorry.
And no, you're fine. One thing I want to throw in here, because I saw it reading that document, no bathroom breaks. You have to be a big boy and a big girl and be able to not go for 3 hours. So watch your liquids, watch your foods. Even if you don't have to, make sure you go, because mom's not pulling this car over just because you didn't go when you had the chance. That's one drawback to this, especially because, you know, we have a longer transcription time that's allowed for our test. So find a way to make that work.
And it's, Mike, the time is 2.5 hours to type the test.
Sorry, I keep rounding up because I'm including the testing time and whatever time. But yes, the 2.5 hours to write the test, yes.
Sydney?
Oh, this might be a really dumb question, but...
Nope, there's no such thing as a dumb question, only dumb people.
So my machine, right, during the test, it has to, when I'm writing, case cat is able to be open, or am I writing, sorry, okay, my machine, does it, is it supposed to be connected to the computer, or is it supposed to be separate? And then I read in my notes into case cat when the test is done.
I see what you're asking. And in fact, as we've been talking about this more and more, and now that Lauren has made the comment that the document does say things have to be hardwired, we're going to check with Kim Kale on this just to get clarification. It should be the same, because theoretically the test is supposed to be designed just as if you're doing the real one. And those of you that have taken this before, you'll know that in the real test, you're in the testing room, and then you take your writer, everyone looks like the Statue of Liberty, carrying their machine over to the transcription room, and then you plug in. So it should be like that. You should be able to write on your writer, and then when it's time to transcribe, plug in, connect, and do that. We'll double check just to make sure that that's correct, so that we are not misinforming you, and we'll send that information out after the fact.
Yes.
Okay.
Corinne?
Hi, sorry, more questions. You said something about a timer. Will we actually see like a clock countdown in RTC? Because I've never used that software yet. So is that something that'll like be ticking like for us to see and like sound like the clock in that movie with Peter Pan?
So there's no sound, otherwise that would drive me insane. But yes, there is a visual timer. It will numerically display the countdown of time left. And I don't remember the exact threshold, but when it gets to close to the end, maybe the last minute, whatever it may be, the numbers will change red so that you know that you're approaching 0. So it is available. The timer will appear right next to the buttons in RTC, which is Real-Time Coach. The timer is next to the buttons in RTC where you'll be submitting your information. So it will be there, will be clear. It would be helpful for you to move the windows on your screen in such a way that you could keep that timer visible, so that way you understand how much time you have left. Or if you're a person who's disciplined enough to see that, oh, it's 7:28 p.m. I have 2.5 hours. That means I have until 8:30, 9:30, 10 o'clock, you know, whatever the case may be. If you can do that, whatever method is comfortable for you to track your time, go ahead and use it. But yes, the timer is visible. You will be able to see it.
Awesome. And then one more. When you say that we upload the notes, do we attach them like we would in an email to something in their software?
Yes, in Real-Time Coach, you should see two buttons. It will say, actually, no. I don't remember the buttons off the top of my head. There are buttons. I just don't remember the specifics of what they say. But you click something, and then it pulls up the little file dialog, just like you were sending an email when you attach a file to your message. And then you find the file, click OK, and then there's another button that will say submit. And so it's very clear. It's not anything that's deceptive or puzzling. It's very intuitive. And when you go through the practice exam, that will give you an even greater understanding of that particular mechanic of the process.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
And one of the teachers just told me to turn your notes in, the file that you need to use is the .sgstn on CaseCat. Is it the same on Eclipse, Mike?
No, it's different on Eclipse. So make sure on your particular software you know the file extension for your steno notes, your transcript, and your transcript. Because Case Catalyst calls it the text file, Eclipse calls it the English file, and then I don't know what the other ones call it because I just know those two. And
I know in Case you can just click on the job and then right below it, it lists all the different files. So you could even just click on them to see which ones they are if you don't know what you're looking for. I don't know how Eclipse works for that.
Eclipse is similar, but the trick is really just knowing what the file extension is for that particular file, because what's going to happen is when you're working in Eclipse, for example, Eclipse has a built-in file browser that is really well organized. It lets you see everything. It gives you cool little icons. But when you click the button in Real-Time Coach to upload your file, it doesn't open your software and bring you to that window. It opens up the Windows dialog box. So you have to understand how to get to that file outside of your software.
And then Angie?
Hi, I just had a question about printing the transcript to proofread before turning it in. Are you able to do that?
Great question. It's in the document that the CRB has, their online skills examination, and I can read it to you here. Hard copy proofreading. Candidates will be allowed to print one rough draft for proofreading purposes. The printer must be hardwired to the candidate's computer. The proctor must see the candidate shred the rough draft before completion of the exam.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any last? We're coming up on our hour. Oh, Anne?
Sorry. You might not know this because I don't know if it's the same as RPR, but on the glossary, I know we're not allowed to write anything down on paper. They're apparently going to give us the preview words beforehand.
So this is something that's actually going to be pretty helpful because of Real-Time Coach. When you pull up the portion of Real-Time Coach that is the testing segment, there's actually a portion of the screen that shows you the glossary. So you will see those words. You'll have a chance to write them into your writer before you click play, and you will have access to that information.
Okay.
So those words, yeah, they'll be made available to you. It'll be very clear. They won't be a surprise.
Okay, great. I knew we were going to get them. I just was hoping we could see them visually with spellings and all that. Okay, thank you. Perfect.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. You will get them through the software. I can't remember if it was discussed that they will be read to you by the proctors. I don't think they are. So I would look for it in Real-Time Coach, because personally to me, that's much better just to have it right there on the screen for you to see.
And then we have Brianna.
Hi. So you were saying something about, so what I'm familiar with for the notes is print to PDF and then upload. It sounded like you guys were saying something else that I'm super confused about.
I think I know where you're going. So there's a difference between printing your notes to a PDF file and then the actual note file itself. So you have to know how to get to the file in your software that your notes are stored in. Because when you print to PDF, it's taking your notes, that file, and it's printing it out to a PDF file. But you have to upload the actual file where your notes live into Real-Time Coach.
Okay.
Did that make it a little more clear?
It totally makes sense. I just have never done it, and I don't even know where to start.
What software are you on?
I'm on Case.
Great. Email me. My email is mike.hensley@cal-ccra.org, and we can talk about it. Or you can ask teachers at your school, or there's a whole lot of ways that that can be done. But I'm happy to share my email to assist with that because I'm on Case, so I know how to do that kind of thing.
So you're mike.hensley@cal.ccra.org.
cal-ccra.org.
ccra.org. Okay, thank you.
And you know what, I'll say that too. That goes for anyone else that's out there. I'm sure you'll find this for any of the members on the board. We are here to serve you, our members, whether you're a student, captioner, cart provider, official, freelancer, retired, or someone who just thinks court reporting is cool. We're here for you. So I have no problem with you all knowing my email address and sending me a message if you have a question or want to get more information. That's perfectly fine. That's what we are here for. So feel free to send a message my way if there's anything I can do to help you in your journey. And then I saw a question, Sydney, I flipped the Sydney. Yes, you all will be included in that email. We're gonna send some information. We'll include contact information so you can ask either your teachers or us or whomever how to do those file processes so that you're ready. Yeah, Eclipse, Giselle, I saw you on the chat there. I say it's simple. It really is if you just let your mind go and go through the steps. It's only complicated if you don't know what you're doing. And once you do it a couple times, it becomes second nature. So you'll be just fine.
And then one of the teachers did want me to point out, it doesn't matter if the glossary and the lead-in are in your steno notes, but make sure you delete them off of your actual test because it will be errors if you leave it on there. So only turn in the actual test. Don't turn in the warm-up or the lead-in. It's just like when you do it at the in-person CSR, you start where they tell you to start, and that's the only thing that needs to be on your test.
Yes.
Sydney?
Yeah, so when we're actually uploading the transcripts or the notes, we're not turning it into a PDF and then uploading that PDF. Is that what you guys are saying? That
Correct. Right, you're giving them the direct files. So it's not a PDF. They will access the files and turn them into what needs to be generated so that it can be graded.
Any more questions? I have a list of things I'm gonna email Kim Kale about tonight, and hopefully she'll get back to me this week. And I will email everyone, and I will send the recording just in case you want to go back over it or if you feel like you missed something. But if anyone has any last minute questions right now, tell us so we can try to answer them or get them answered.
And Sydney, I think your tea is done. That tea kettle sounds like it's finished there. I'm totally kidding. I'm such a ham sometimes. It's disgusting. While you all are thinking, if you have any final questions, I've said it before, and I'll say it again because it's the kind of message that I don't think can be said too many times. You've spent so much time preparing for this test and learning what it takes to be a court reporter. This test should be the least of your worries. This is not the time to prove that you're capable. This should be the time for you to have fun and shine and show that you've got what it takes. Everyone that's involved in this test, whether it's the test writers, the test readers, the test proctors, whomever it may be, everyone wants you to succeed. Everyone wants you to pass. There's no one in this process that's against you. So go into the test knowing that you have so many people behind you, rooting for you, waiting for you to succeed, and it'll put you in a much better mindset to have a better time with the test. Have fun with it. This is the first day of the rest of your life. It's the beginning of your new journey. Every person I've known who has done really well on the test usually says something along the same lines. I went in thinking it was fun. I went in thinking I had nothing to worry about. I went in thinking it was a game. It's exactly what it is. It's just another day for you to do what you've been doing for all these years. There's nothing different about it. Yes, it counts. I mean, yes, people are grading it. So what? You know, just do everything that you know you can do. Put all the words on paper that you hear, and then call it a day. And you keep doing that, because once you get in the profession, you're just doing test day over and over and over and over, and then maybe 4 times over more, and then 10 times more after that. Every day is a test. So if you go into this test with nerves, with anxiety, with a defeatist attitude, you're already setting your expectation. Trust yourself, believe in your skill, believe in your capability. And you know what? I know there's a lot of pressure on this test, but if you don't pass, it's not the end of the world. It may feel like it, it's not. You've always got another chance to come back and another chance to try. And as long as you keep your mind in the right perspective, I don't see any reason why you can't pass. We are all eagerly waiting for you to join us. We all want you to be part of the fun. So hurry up and do it. I hope this has been helpful for you.
I just want to say also, this is new for everyone. Please don't feel like you're alone. We are not taking the test this time, but our whole lives have been switched to remote and online also. So the last 3 months have been new for every single person in this profession. And that's part of what Mike said earlier. You know, it's about adapting at this point. This isn't the last new thing that's going to come up in the time that you're a court reporter. So, you know, stay calm, practice, work on it, do the proctor session, the practice sessions with the proctor. That's another thing I'm going to ask about, and make sure that those are included in your exam fee. But just do everything you can to be prepared and go into it knowing that you can do this. If you got here and you're taking the test, you're perfectly capable of passing it. So this is just one of those times that it's out of our control. And, you know, I'm glad they're still doing a test for you, because like Mike said, we need you. And so that's why we're here for you. Carissa, I think you had your hand up again. Go ahead.
I did. I was just curious. Have they said if they're using like Lightboard where there's images and it's going to light up like some of the schools use, or is it going to be a recording of 4 people in a room together speaking, or has there been any talk about that? I haven't heard anything.
It does say on here, there is video, it's not just audio, so you'll see the person talking, and then it just says seating arrangement of the speakers will be randomly assigned. So it's not going to be, I don't even remember how it's set up at the CSR anymore, but it might not necessarily be in that order. So just be prepared for that. And I would just honestly recommend forgetting if it's plaintiff or whoever, make each speaker sign whatever square they're in and keep it for that with that. And that's the best advice I can give you for that. So, but yeah, you will see the person and hear them. It's not just going to be like a light board lighting up.
And the tests are going to be read the exact same way that they've been read for years. It's not going to be something that because it's online now all of a sudden we say, hey party people, let's start the no, it goes through the same process that if you've been to the test you've heard before.
All right. Well, I don't see any more hands. Thank you everyone for joining us. If you think of any questions after we're done tonight, then just like Mike said, our emails are on the CCRA website. You can email any of us. I am the chair of our student committee, so please reach out to me anytime. We want to help you. We'll help reach out to the board for you. I know it can be confusing and scary, but that's why we're here to help and get you through it. So with that, I think we'll adjourn. And Mike, what do I do with this recording?
You end, and when you end, it finishes.